Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hello, and welcome to the Clyde Show. I'm your host, Clyde Farris, and as always, I want to thank the good Lord for allowing me to be here today. And this is a new thing. We're going to produce a show that can be shown on social media and other platforms. And as always, I'll be giving you my opinion on things that have come across, I won't say my desk, but my thoughts, and just give you my feedback on them. Today I'm going to do a show that people that know me will find something that is pretty much what I would do. And I'm going to call this show today Embarrassed by Trump. That's right, embarrassed by Donald J. Trump. Because every time I talk to somebody, Big Brother calls me, and that's what I refer to my older brother when he calls me, and I talk about on air of any type. I call him Big Brother. But Big Brother, my old girlfriend, some business people I know, the pastor of my church, even when I watch TV evangelists like TV Jakes, inevitably it'll come up that somebody will talk about Donald Trump. And the world would just be a better place if Donald Trump was not here doing the things that he's doing. And I'll admit, Donald Trump is not a perfect person by any means. He's a little boorish and at times almost juvenile in some of the things he says and does. But as a black man, as a black American man, I like to look at the things that affect me and my community. And by my community, I'm talking about black people. And so when we spend so much time putting emphasis on Donald Trump, I'd like to take a step back sometime and look at some other things. For example, many of our families have been here in the United States for years. And that's one reason why I don't refer to myself as an African American. I refer to myself as an American. And if you ask me to describe myself, I'll describe myself as a black American. We have traced my mother's family back to the late 1700s here in America. My father fought in World War II along with several uncles and in Korea and various places. My older brother Bob fought in Vietnam. I think we've earned the right to be called Americans. And if you want to distinguish us from other groups, black Americans, that's what I prefer to be called. And despite all of those things that we've been able to accomplish, whether it be in business, in finance, even having a black person reach the highest office in the world, that being the President of the United States, we as black people have some issues. And that's why I don't understand why we spend so much time talking about Donald Trump when there's so many issues that face us as black Americans. One of the things that I always like to look at is those major things that for some reason we don't tend to talk about. For example, diseases. Black Americans suffer from diseases such as hypertension, cancer, sickle cell. We suffer from these diseases at a much higher rate than other races. In some cases, like sickle cell, it is unique to us. And yet we still have a man and a woman who carry the sickle cell trait, who get married and have a child, or just have a child, without knowledge that by both having the trait, they automatically give the sickle cell disease to the child. This is something that in 2018 we should not be doing. We should know by now what affects us and how we can work to make our community better as far as being more healthy. Women have gotten together and they're doing the walks now for breast cancer and all those things, and that's great. But the number one killer of black men and black women is still heart disease, particularly for women. I started to say homicide. I had to catch myself, but I'm going to get to that in a moment. The other thing is education. We have all of our students, black students in particular, tend to lag behind white and Asian students from the elementary all the way to high school. And it doesn't matter if they're in a school that's predominantly white or has a large influx of Asian students. It tends to get better. If there's two parents in the home, it tends to be better. But overall, black education for our kids is lagging behind other students. And for that reason, again, why are we spending all our time talking about Donald Trump when we have kids going to schools that are not giving them what they need to be able to compete in the future? It just doesn't make sense to me. Donald Trump is an important person in our world, but not so much we need to spend so much time talking about him each and every day. And there's other things such as, and forgive me for using my glasses, I'm vain enough that I like to wear them on camera. One of the other reasons that we don't excel more is black students tend to get in trouble more. They assault teachers at a higher rate, they assault each other, and those sorts of things hinder the education process. We just had a situation here in the Petersburg schools here in outside of Richmond, where students did a walkout to commemorate 17 students that were massacred at a school in Parkland, Florida. Great to see the students that committed that they wanted to go out and do something to show that we want this carnage to stop. When we were kids, schools were not attacked, churches were not attacked. Those sorts of things just didn't happen, but they're happening now, and the kids wanted to make a statement. So what happened in Petersburg? The kids walked out and they paid their respects and came back in. Almost immediately, a fight breaks out. The girls and guys in there had a clump on the floor. How did that commemorate anybody to be fighting like that? And yet this happens in schools all across the country. Whether it be Florida, Chicago, Philadelphia, DC, Baltimore, Los Angeles. We have a huge problem with our kids and the violence that they either commit or see. And I would like to see something done about that. But it's not an easy subject to approach, because it's easier, again, about Donald Trump. Donald Trump fired this person. Donald Trump said that. But what about our kids in school not getting the education they deserve? I know of whites as well as blacks who have moved either out of the Richmond area or who have homeschooled or sent their kids to private school because they did not want them to be affected by what goes on in Richmond public schools, for example, on a daily basis. It's not shown a lot, but there was a fight in Verina High School, which is right outside the city. Girls in the cafeteria, must have been 20 of them, throwing blows. Teacher got knocked down. There was a female teacher that was attacked at one of the high schools here in Richmond years ago. And I talked about this on another show, where there was a question, a male teacher beat a female student in front of a class badly that she was hospitalized for about a week or so. And there was some question about whether he would be allowed back in school. Now, again, why are we thinking about things like this when a child like that, when I went to school, you would have never seen him in school again. But these are the issues we're facing as black people. But it's easier to talk about Donald Trump. It's easier to talk about black racism. When Michael Jackson said, look at the man in the mirror. Take a look at yourself and the things that we're doing and we're allowing in our own community. I talked about blacks assaulting teachers, and that carries on in the community. A couple of years, well, maybe not quite 2 years ago, in Chicago, they wanted to reduce the number of schools, like they're doing all over the country. Parents now are not having as many kids as they did when I was young. Baby boomers, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids was not unusual. Nowadays, most people have 1 or 2 at most, and so many of the schools are vacant. Well, the parents were protesting because they wanted them to stay in a particular school. Their problem was that they were going to have to walk through a gang-infested area where, in many cases, gunfire would take place during the day, and they didn't want their kids to be harmed. But we're talking about that, the danger that a child could be shot going to or from school. We'd rather talk about Donald Trump. And while I'm also in that vein, I've told this stat, and most black people in particular have a hard time with it. And the stat is that black people at a rate 7 times that of whites and Hispanics put together. In other words, a black man or a black woman is 7 times more likely to be murdered. 7 times more likely to be murdered than a white or Hispanic person. You look up the stats, they're in my book. My book is called Etiquette for the Black Man. And I went to the Bureau of Crime Statistics and various other places, and this is true. These are the stats. We kill each other. A black person is less safe in a black community. And yet we're talking Donald Trump. Why? What are we going to do something to fix our community, make it safe for our kids to be outside, to be able to be outside and ride a bicycle without catching a bullet from two immature young men who suddenly pull out a gun and start a gunfight in the middle of an afternoon? These are some of the things that I think about constantly. And whenever I bring up, Big Brother told me one time, he says, well, why do you keep talking about it? I said, well, if I don't talk, maybe nobody will ever do anything. You know, if it affects your family, if your family members is gunned down, then maybe it'll mean something to you. And this is something slightly off, but I'll mention this one too. If any of you have ever seen the show Sweetie Pie with Robbie Montgomery, she was a backup for Ike and Tina Turner. All right, and just to give you an example, Miss Robbie, as she's called, they live in East St. Louis. Miss Robbie's husband was murdered. One of her sons was murdered. Her nephew was murdered. And about a year to 2 years, I think it was a year ago, her grandson, who had come to live with her, was murdered. So this is 4 males murdered out of one family. 4. And then her son, Tim, who had served time for bank robbery, well, that's a funny story. But anyway, he runs her restaurants now. But Tim served time, I think he served 12 to 15 years for bank robbery. I think I'm right. Please, if I'm wrong, forgive me. Anyway, Tim, now he's lost his father, his brother, his cousin, and his cousin. But none of those caused him to go out and march. What caused him to march was a shooting. I want to say it was the one with, I want to say Eric Garner, but it's not Eric Garner. It was the one where the guy robbed a store and he's walking down the street and got in a confrontation with the policeman. Now, black witnesses said that he attacked the cop, went to the car, and was trying to get his gun, and the cop shot him. But anyway, Tim marched about that. He didn't march about the 4 family members who were shot by other black people. He went and marched about a white cop potentially shooting a black man. Gives you something to think about. And that just leads me to the question, why is it that in every black community there is an area that has a concentration of high crime that's dangerous? Why do we have that? And you can go, like I said, Florida, where I grew up in Philadelphia, in the Philadelphia area, Baltimore, New York. There's various places where no matter where you go, there is a black community that is not safe. I don't know why that is. I don't know why we prey upon each other the way we do. I even told somebody President Obama didn't move back to Chicago because while he was in office, there was a murder right outside the house that he owned in Chicago. Again, something to think about. We can't spend all of our time blaming everything on Donald Trump. Donald Trump's an imperfect man, but there's a lot of imperfect black people. And as a race, we need to do a better job of figuring out how to improve ourselves so that we can continue the progress that our ancestors, Martin Luther King and Frederick Douglass and people such as that have made to allow us to get to this place, to even allow me to do a broadcast like this that would be seen not only in this country but around the world. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm Clyde Ferris, and this is the Clyde Show. We're coming back to you soon. Peace.
All right. I like that.